Okay, everybody, this is the first installment of whatever this is. I don't even know what this is. I was half thinking to sit down and figure out how to put content together that I would enjoy to do, given, I have this new mic that I purchased last week, a Shure SM7B, and I'm having so much fun playing with the settings and the equalizer and the compressor and all this stuff that, I'm trying to figure out how to create content where I can sit down and listen to the quality of the production that I'm putting together, while at the same time also make something where folks might like to listen to or they might like to watch. So this is my first attempt at that. I'm not going to have any video attached to it. This is just going to be voice only, and it's designed for folks to have on while they're running or doing chores, or they don't want to deal with the mundane nature of what they might be doing, right? Or to try and catch up with news regarding Tesla and other tech stuff, or Elon Musk, or whatever else might interest me at any point in time. So this is the first installment, and I should probably close the door in my bedroom turned studio, so give me 2 seconds. Look at that. I'm not even gonna edit that out. We're just gonna keep it in the production. But anyway, so I'll start by just talking about what are the things that have me excited for the coming days here, for the next week, let's say for the next 7 days. And far and away, the thing that has me the most excited is Giga Texas. So the cyber party, the cyber rodeo at Gigafactory Texas in Austin. There's been waves of invitations that have gone out to multiple folks. I think a few in the Tesla community have gotten them. And of course, I'm not going to be here outing them, of course, because I'm not sure if that's something that wants to be public quite yet, because I know there's a lot of folks that are still waiting for their invitations. So, hopefully here in the coming days, more invitations come out. But if they don't, that's okay too. What I really hope comes out of the cyber rodeo, to be completely honest, is that it's a party first and foremost for the employees and all the people that have done all the work at that factory. I think one thing that Tesla did really well while I was there is that, especially towards the tail end, they became much better at celebrating wins and celebrating, things and achievements that the company did or teams did by having a little bit of a party, having a little bit of a situation where we could sit down and sort of reminisce about the work we did, share it over some pizza, maybe some orange juice, maybe some root beer or something. But, and of course, folks afterwards might go to a bar and have a couple drinks here and there. But celebrating the wins became more and more plentiful, and that was an awesome thing to see. So I do hope that Cyber Rodeo is a great place and a sort of a great party for everyone who has worked on that project. All the Tesla employees, all the different folks that, had some sort of hand in the project, contractors, local folks, things like that. So I'm very excited for them, and I hope to have a really good time. Of course, I hope a lot of the Tesla community also gets invited, the YouTube community, the Twitter community, fans, owners, obviously. So we'll see. It's going to be a really good time. And then the day after, on the Friday, so Cyber Rodeo is on the 7th, which is a Thursday, and then the next day on the 8th, it's TeslaCon, which I believe is the first iteration of it. This is the first time we're having any sort of Tesla conference, and it's I believe hosted by the Tesla Owners Club of Austin folks that run that club, and they, along with other folks, are looking to host the conference. I believe they're sold out, and I don't know the exact number of tickets that they sold out. I believe it was $20 a ticket, but it's going to be quite a lot of people there. And what's really cool is that the conference, the TeslaCon folks, have pulled together a bunch of different folks that are part of the community to come speak. Most notably, people like Sandy Monroe is going to be there, Dave Lee, who has an Tesla investing channel. You have Gally from Hyperchange. You have Ross Gerber, who's a hedge fund manager. You have a bunch of other folks as well. You got your Emma Peppers, and you have K10 and Kim Paquette, who are both on Twitter, big Tesla, I guess, influencers, you could could call them, but really just part of the Tesla family and the Tesla community, sort of sharing all the good experiences they've had with their cars and the company and all that stuff. Just stuff that's been really awesome to follow, and a bunch of other people as well. And myself, I guess, I'll also be attending the event and speaking at it or being part of the panel in some form. So that has me extremely excited. I think the thing that I'm most looking forward to be completely honest, for that entire week is to just get to meet all the different folks in the Tesla community that I haven't had the chance to meet in person. Being at Tesla, I've had the experience of meeting a fair number of employees and people that worked within my org and outside of my org, and really get embedded within the culture and the company. But what's been almost as rewarding, if not more so, is getting in touch with everyone else outside of it. Getting in touch with everybody who has been not so much on the perimeter, but sort of carrying the Tesla flag outside. And that's really everybody that's probably listening to this right now. It's all the owners, it's all the fans, it's all the YouTube creators, it's all the Twitter folks, all the forum members, Tesla Motors Club, Tesla, EV, whatever forums, folks that have been positive on Tesla and have been part of the mission in one way or another. I'm very excited to get to meet those people. And for me, I think that's what's really starting to come together in this whole journey that I'm on right now. Is Tesla has been such a big part of my life, and being able to experience not just the inside of the company, but also be close to the outside of it has been so freaking rewarding, and something that I didn't imagine myself in at this point in my life. I don't know how to describe it. It's just I didn't imagine. I would have never pictured myself being on the stage of something like a TeslaCon alongside these people that I've been following for years now, and now I get to share a stage with some, if not all of them, next week. So it's a weird feeling. Definitely feel some imposter syndrome for sure. I think that the journey that everyone that's listening to this and all the folks that have been watching my YouTube videos and been listening to my podcasts, it's just been wild, man. It's just been super wild, to be completely honest. And now, as I'm going through this sort of spoken word format, I think this is where I'm starting to find value in this. Is that I think it's a good way for me to sit down and recollect my thoughts on what's been going on and what's coming up. And selfishly, in a way, it's also helping me sort of plan out my week of content for next week. So this might actually be an exercise. This might be a thing that I might do for a number of weeks or days from now on. So let me know what you guys think of this content in the comments, or shoot me a DM or just at me on Twitter. You can find me at Farziness on Twitter, or you can drop it in the comment section below of this video once it goes live. And I'm not really sure what this is. So if you're not enjoying it so far, I'm sorry. I don't even really know what I'm doing. But the one thing that I really learned from my experience at Tesla and sort of doing this YouTube thing for a little bit, and honestly, the sort of approach that I've learned through my career and all the different mentors I've had before Tesla even, is just sitting down and trying stuff is ultimately the most important thing somebody can do to discover a good thing or a valuable thing for themselves or for society. You don't really know if something's going to be good or valuable until you sit down and start trying it. And the one thing I've found is that generally the thing that you think is going to be valuable at first is actually a sort of like a jumping point for the true value of the action that you're doing. And I'm not quite sure what this was going to be at first, but I'm already feeling like, okay, I'm here talking to a microphone by myself in a room. Bill Burr style. I don't know if you guys follow Bill Burr. He's got a great podcast where he just literally sits down in front of a mic and just talks for like what seems like hours on end about just whatever experiences he's had in his life. And I've kind of, sort of taken inspiration from that selfishly, because I literally wanted to sit down and just play with this microphone so I can go and post and experiment with some of the EQs and throw it up for anybody who wants to listen. So yeah, and it's starting to already develop into a way for me to just sit down, collect my thoughts, and plan out what I almost like a journal in a way, almost like sitting down and writing thoughts down and pass it on to other folks. I don't know where this goes, but anyway, yeah, the jumping point from a place where you didn't expect, you came in with one thought and then you ended up with a different thought at the end of it. It's one of the things that I really learned in my past career and all the things that I've built in the past. So sitting down and doing this format is just experimentation. And for those that have been following the channel, the YouTube channel, by the way, if for some reason you find this and you have no idea what the hell this is, I have a YouTube channel and I have a podcast on Spotify and whatever other podcast app you follow, where I mainly cover Tesla related stuff. I'd worked at Tesla for 4 years. I've been invested in the company for about 10 years now. And so I'm pretty close to that side of the world and that, that developing story that's happening on planet Earth with our transition to sustainable transport and sustainable energy generation and, using renewables and all that stuff. So I've been relatively close to that space, and I like to create content around that. I like to create things that might be helpful for other folks to sort of interpret, or honestly, ideally for those that aren't super exposed to the world, to try and get them caught up to what's going on. I think ultimately maybe that's going to be the longer term vision of this channel, is to figure out how to get the rest of the world on board a little bit faster. One of the things that's really been sort of eating away at me in the last couple weeks is I've been talking on my podcast. I've had a few folks where I've been sort of picking their brain on where we think the transition to sustainable transport is going to end up. Like, we know Tesla is going to be successful. Like, those that follow this channel and those that follow Tesla, outside of having a tremendous execution risk, or say something terrible happens to the leadership group at Tesla, I don't know, man. I hesitate to say this, but it just seems like a sure thing that Tesla is going to end up being successful and at some point become the largest automaker on planet Earth, and at some point becoming the most valuable company on Earth. It appears obvious. It appears like it's a no-brainer, but we shall see if that's the case. But I think what's interesting in seeing that journey is that I'm not quite sure, and I'm working on this for a video this week, sort of like I'm trying to figure out where's everyone else going to be in the next 5-10 years, right? Because there's been a lot of talk about this trend of Tesla's going to go to 20 million cars by, say, 2030 or 2032. Yet a lot of things that the Tesla community is looking at, and rightly so, we're all like, competition. Like, who's the competition? There's nobody here. Like, these guys are freaking slow. It's all Tesla's game. But this is a dangerous thing. This is a dangerous thing because you think about the disruption to the industry that's going to happen as we transition to electric vehicles, which will likely make folks that are looking to buy an electric vehicle wait until they can buy one. And if there aren't enough automakers or enough new electric vehicles available for folks to purchase, then you're just going to have this essentially collapse of gas car sales in the world. And I'm not so sure the replacement rate of those gas cars with EVs is anywhere near fast enough where the net number of cars that are sold each year are about the same, so that we don't have this gigantic gap in how many cars can be sold each year. So in the case of a Ford or a GM is probably a better example here. I think in the first quarter of 2022, I believe they reported selling, it was less than 500 EVs, maybe less than 1,000 EVs, but just a very, very tiny number of EVs, at least in America. They may have sold quite a bit more in China, because I believe they have partnerships in China. But at least in America, there's barely been any sales for that car maker. So my huge concern is that when we're thinking about a company like a Ford or a GM, especially in America, if they don't get their stuff together in the coming really freaking year, it could even be quicker than that, but very, very quickly, it's going to leave the door wide open for a company that's perhaps not in the United States, let's say a company in China or in Europe, to come through and essentially take the entire market share that Ford and GM had, that Tesla isn't able to capture because it's impossible for Tesla to grow faster than they already have. So even if Tesla gets to, say, 20 million cars globally per year by 2030, there might be a market for 80 million or 50 million EVs, or 60 million EVs. Who's selling the rest of them? Who's selling the rest of them? If you're in America and you're, proud of American manufacturing, and you're proud of having GM and Ford and, Chrysler, I guess, in a way, and Tesla as American car makers, yet Ford and GM aren't able to reach that threshold, it's going to spell a lot of trouble for those automakers. And I'm not saying inherently there's anything wrong from a humanity perspective for a company from China or Europe to come into the US and take that market share away from those car companies. But if you want American jobs and you want America's relative strength when it comes to manufacturing to be kept where it is, or at least increased, I'm not sure the auto market's going to be where that place is at. If anything, it's going to be worse. We're going to be worse off because of that gap. And it seems like Tesla is really the only one that has any sense of urgency to make it happen, or even expertise. Like forget the innovation speed. There's a maximum number of units Tesla's going to be able to generate. That's just fact. They can only grow so fast. And once Master Plan Part 3 comes out from Elon, we'll get a better idea on exactly how they're planning on getting to the extreme scale that they've been talking about before. But what does that mean within the entire scope of where we're heading? Gonna get weird. People have talked about this before. I've seen studies. I think ARK Invest may have put this together. There's this graph where they show, the overall adoption of EVs over time is going to exponentially increase, but then the reduction in ICE sales and internal combustion vehicle sales, the rate of its decrease is going to be faster than the rate of increase of electric vehicles, at least for the next, say, 5 to 10 years, somewhere around there, which leaves that gap. Even though you might be selling twice as many electric vehicles year over year, your total number of cars sold year over year will be down, which leaves room for someone to come in, or worse yet, it might cause these companies that can't make enough electric vehicles at a profit to simply go bankrupt, because you're selling less and less gas cars that are the ones that are making money for you. If you're not able to sell more than you need or enough to stay alive, forget being able to sell any EVs. You might not be able to sell anything because you might go freaking bankrupt. All the assets that you have in-house and all the expertise that you have in-house and everything else like that allows you to stay profitable, it's going out the window. So what's going to happen there now? So yeah, that's been eating away at me. I'm really trying to figure out exactly when this is going to happen, because I think that's an important piece of information to put together. I also had a guest very recently where we talked about is there a potential for Tesla to become a little bit more involved in, say, governmental affairs, right? Like trying to influence the political discussion, at least in the United States, to help accelerate this in any way possible, or to at least prevent any potential scenario where the government impedes the progress, like prevents the progress of a Tesla or electric vehicle to switch over. And is the time now to make that happen, right? I don't know. I've been thinking about that a lot. The guest name is Ernesto. Oh my goodness, Ernesto, if you listen to this, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but I believe it's Glucksmann. It's a very interesting spelling, and I shouldn't say it because look at my freaking name. But he's had a lot of exposure to the Washington D.C. and sort of how the United States functions from that perspective. So an interesting thing to track, something that I don't think gets talked about enough. I don't know if it should be talked about more, since Tesla is so innovative about how they approach, problem solving and trying to get their stuff going through. But yeah, it's weird, man. Stuff's going to start It's going to start getting weird. And so anyway, so trying to figure out when this transition point is going to happen and have some legitimate data and dates behind it and a way to really frame the conversation. Ultimately, my goal is, through my content, is to create awareness that Tesla's success is incredible for Tesla, but everyone else, if they're not on board, it might be a net negative. And Elon has talked about this. There's a reason why Elon is so adamant about competition existing and why they made their patents available and why Tesla has been so friendly towards the competition, opening up the supercharger network in areas and looking to partner with any car company that would want to partner with them. I think at some point it's going to happen. At some point, car makers are going to have no choice but to freaking partner with Tesla unless they figure out how to scale their production to where it needs to be so that they can be self-sufficient. And honestly, I've only really looked at a few car companies, but to me, Volkswagen seems the only one of the legacy automakers that's positioned anywhere close to being able to be self-sufficient in the future. And I think that's very impressive and admirable. And Herbert Diess and the Volkswagen Group should be applauded for it. The cars might not be as good as Tesla's. They don't have a supercharger network. They don't have full self-driving per se, which is yet another freaking thing that could completely upend this whole thing, but maybe we'll save that for a different day. So I don't know. It's getting a little concerning to me. I think the Q1 2022 numbers, Tesla's was up 1% Q4 versus Q1. If you compare year over year, they were up 68%, which is incredible. But if you compare that to every other automaker, essentially, at least the ones that are not Chinese, I got to look at the Chinese automakers, but everyone else is down like double digits, like 10%, 20%, 25%. Okay. And one could make the argument that the supply chain issues in Q1 of 2022 are nowhere near as bad as Q1 2021. And they're not. I mean, demonstrably, if you go out and you try to find stuff, and you look at how many people are out shopping and doing stuff, of course, the automaker is going to be a little bit different. Like the auto company is going to be a little bit different. But the supply chain issue is not that bad. And here's the crazier thing. For people that track video cards, I don't know if you're somebody who likes to buy video cards for a computer. Those prices have been coming down quite a bit due to the chip shortage alleviating quite a bit. And so if automakers are citing chip shortage issues as the reason why they can't get back to original levels that they were at before, I'm not sure I buy that. I'll buy the argument if they can't grow over the level that they were at before. So say they were shipping 8 million cars a year and they went down to 6 million cars a year and they're trying to get to 10 million cars a year, but there are not enough chips. Sure, that I give you that, because maybe the additional capacity wasn't able to be built because of the issues that we had with the supply chain. But getting back to 8 million cars per year should are we really sure that we're not able to do that right now? 2 years removed from sort of when the lockdowns happened? Having been in supply chain, I could see how that could be the case. And, you have a lot of parts that are part of a car that could go wrong. But within the context of Tesla being able to grow, okay, even if it's 1% quarter over quarter, you remove the shutdowns in Shanghai because of holidays and you remove the shutdowns in Shanghai because of COVID lockdowns, they're probably closer to 320,000 cars, maybe even higher. That's not insignificant growth from one quarter to the next. That's 5-6% growth. Perhaps even more, quarter over quarter. You do that over a course of a year. If you consistently grow, say, 5% per quarter, that's more than 20% at the end of the year. That's a lot for an automaker. So why can't Ford and GM do that? Why can't Volkswagen do that? Why can't Toyota do that? Why can't Honda do that? Maybe I'm being naive about it, but something's not adding up. Something smells fishy about the narrative and the rhetoric that's coming out of the legacy auto industry. That the reason why they can't make cars is because of supply chain shortages. And if it really is because of supply chain shortages and Tesla has been able to figure out how to navigate through it much better than everyone else, that doesn't bode well for those guys either. Because what's essentially been proven now is that whatever semblance of advantage the OEMs had, according to investors and analysts and industry experts, where they say, well, Tesla doesn't know how to do manufacturing, Tesla doesn't know how to navigate the supply chain. These car companies have been around for 100 years, are experts at this. Well, guess what? The newcomer has figured out how to navigate this thing better than the legacy guys. So, like, what's the spin here? Like, one spin says that everyone else is worse than Tesla when it comes to being an automaker, and then the other spin is like your demand is really that low, and you're not able to gather the demand that you need, either because of not enough cars on the lots or because of inflation. And I think that the one of the potential things that could happen out of this thing is that, say the legacy auto guys are able to get to a point where they produce enough cars to where they were at before, and they start flooding the market with the dealerships with brand new cars. Are we sure all of these cars are going to be sold? Are we sure? Are they sort of holding inventory back from the dealerships, or limiting production so that they don't have to ship as many cars to dealerships, knowing that if they were to ship the cars to the dealers would be stuck with a massive amount of inventory, and this whole thing will start to become super obvious that there's a gigantic demand problem, which kind of talks back to what I was saying with the growth curve of EVs and the collapse of gas cars. I don't know. Interesting to think about. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm just curious to see when a mainstream site or a mainstream source starts talking about this. Like, when is the New York Times article going to drop that's going to be like, recession coming because of auto makers not being able to make enough cars, right? Hopefully that never happens, but I don't know, man. There's just something in my gut tells me that that's what's really going to cause a recession. It's not going to be this sort of inflation thing. It's not going to be yield curve flip. There was a video that I watched where somebody spoke about how maybe it was I forget who it was, but every time we had a recession, it wasn't because the yield curve flipped, even though that was an indication where the yield curve flipping actually is an sort of a foretelling that something's happening to the economy that's going to cause a recession. Every single one of those recessions had a much bigger reason why it happened. 2020 was obviously COVID. 2007 was the subprime crisis. 2099 was the dot-com bubble, where you had all this insane overvaluations, right? And people just lost a ton of money in the stock market, thinking that they were betting on the next, greatest company ever. I don't know. I think the collapse of legacy auto, in my opinion, or the unraveling effect of the transition to the EV industry, to the EV market, to a new EV sort of industry away from gas cars. That transition is going to be super painful. And you think about the countless jobs that are going to be lost by the companies that don't survive. There's this, Pareto rule, 80-20 rule that exists that, kind of the general thought process behind this thing is that in nature you can observe this happen over and over again, where 80% of the 80% of the results, 80% of the value can be created with 20% of the effort, or 20% of a population do 80% of the total. That's how you can think about it. It's like this rule that says the minority do the majority, right? But it can also be applied in a condition where, say you have a number of car makers that are making gas cars that are going through a ridiculous disruption because of the electric vehicle. 80% of them could fail. If you have 100 car makers, which I'm sure we don't, get our gas cars, well, we have 10. Feels like we only have 10. If let's say there's 50 automakers in the world. There might be more or less, but let's say there's 100 in the world. 80 of them might fail. 80 of them might legitimately fail during this transition. And after we're done, it doesn't necessarily mean we're only going to have 20 car makers, but we'll have 100 car makers again, but 80 of them are going to be brand new. And those are your Rivians, those are your Lucids, those are your Faraday Futures, your BYDs, your Bytons if they ever come out, your Neos, right? Tesla. It's all of these guys that could come out and win. You know, if Ford Blue, theoretically you can make the argument, you know, Ford, they're splitting out the division from gas cars, with gas cars and electric cars. Is Ford Blue a brand new company, or is Ford Blue the legacy automaker? I don't know. You know, and as the gas car division of Ford, that's not going to be around in 10 years time. When I was speaking with Ernesto in my last podcast, like, one of the points he made is like, that sounds to me like they're looking to, you know, split the company up so that Ford, I think Ford Blue is supposed to be the ICE division, the gas car. Anyway, the gas car division. The reason why they're splitting it up is so that they can actually sell the company and get rid of the assets. That they're preparing for that move at some point. You know, and that makes a lot of sense to me. It's going to make it way easier for Ford to move forward from this transition, and the fact that they're thinking about it now is a good sign. But are they actually making enough cars to make this happen? Are they making enough cars to make this happen? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it. You know, I'll have a video about it sometime this week once I figure out the numbers and I actually get a good idea of what the hell's going on here. But I don't know, man. I'm just worried. But great time to be a Tesla investor. Great time to be a Tesla fan, to be a Tesla owner. Great time to be somebody who's following, this incredible transition. But I just, I can't shake this feeling that this thing's going to get pretty freaking ugly for those that aren't somehow exposed to the winners, which in this case, Tesla's going to be a gigantic one, in my opinion. Volkswagen might be a winner out of this if they're able to manage this correctly and they keep Herbert Diess, who I think is going to be a big contributor to their success. So anyway, all right, I'm going to stop here because I have no idea if this is even something you guys want to listen to. So I'll stop. If you guys have any feedback on this, I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear, just tell me everything in the comments and Twitter. If you listen to this, I would love to hear your feedback. If you want to send me an email with feedback, info Farzad Misbahi, so my full name. So INFO FARZAD MESBAHI @gmail.com. Give me your feedback on Twitter @Farzyness FARZYNESS. Hit me up there. Send me a DM. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, comment section below. Let me know what you think of this format. Like I said before, I have a new mic. I want to play with it. And it's a good way for me, I'm finding out, to sit down and really get my thoughts out in sort of a journal manner. And if you guys find it entertaining or valuable, great. If not, tell me how you think it could be better. Perhaps we'll make this into a more casual podcast format, where we'll have maybe a counterpart. I can have a counterpart where we can sort of bounce his ideas around and make it super, super casual. Instead of it being more of an interview, we can make it more of a true conversation, like a real back and forth where it's just two people sort of trying to figure something out. So, and there's no time limits, right? So anyway, let me know what you think. Today's Sunday, April 3rd, 2022, 1:14 p.m. Central Time as of the 2nd. And I wish you a great rest of your day, evening, morning, whenever you're listening to this. I hope all your dreams come true. I hope everything you're working towards comes true. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. And have a great one. Take it easy. Bye-bye.